The Travel Bug Girls have partnered with A Little Nitty, a local yarn shop in Milton, Washington, to create some incredible trips that you are going to love. Each trip is designed to check all the boxes for yarn and fiber lovers who want to take their crafting on the road or the high seas. So grab your favorite yarn and get ready to pack your bags. We have Nitty Adventures coming in May, August, and October of 2025. To find out more, visit travelbuggirls.com/nitty-adventures. Welcome to the Travel Bug Girls podcast, the show where we dive into the world of travel, exploring everything from expert tips and insider secrets to unforgettable destinations and the latest trends. Whether you're a seasoned globetrotter or planning your very first adventure, we've got you covered with the advice and inspiration you need to make your travels truly unforgettable. So sit back, relax, and let's take your travel planning to the next level. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Travel Bug Girls podcast. I'm Kimmie, and I'm here with Heather today. And today we are going to continue on our series about international travel. So the last time when we started our series, we thought we were going to cover everything in like one 30-minute episode. And what we found out was we covered basically one topic. That was like passports.
We had a lot to say.
So what we decided is this needs to be a multi-part series. Mm-hmm. So today we are going to talk about some of those other things that you have to do before you leave on your adventure. So like figuring out your money stuff with your cards and all that, and then figuring out phone stuff too. Mm-hmm. So just some of that like pre-leaving things that you might not think about, but you definitely need to figure out before you get on the plane to go. But before we start on that, do we have any travel news? Have you seen anything in the news about travel? You know, last time we talked about the poop cruise.
I know. I'm like, I don't want to talk about travel news right now. It's all really stressful or chaotic. Yeah. There's been some big travel news, like airline stuff. Gosh, have you seen the stuff about the airline that's now going to make overweight people buy 2 seats up front?
I have not seen. Oh no, I have not seen that. No, so
extra.
Wow.
Yeah. So that got me a few emails this week.
Yeah. Airline travel has really made a shift to like more and more and more like pared down, where like to the bare minimum of what they can possibly offer you.
Yes. Airline
they're no longer like catering to their customers.
Oh, no.
I feel like
they
hold all
the board. Don't you feel like whoever is still trying to is not winning? I mean, they're not. It's such a shame. Like, could you even point to a company and be like, but that company?
Because even the ones that I felt like were still kind of now have made shifts recently that they're not. So
I have one company that I basically would tell my clients, I don't really want to book your flights unless we're booking with this company, because the carrier that's closest to us, that's pretty common, is they cancel flights left and right all the time. Often while you're sitting at the gate.
Wow.
Oh, flights canceled. And now you have an entire plane full of people dispersed and have to figure it out. And they're all scrambling. And they thought they were about to be leaving and now they're not. That is absolute chaotic disruption when you're talking about trips like what we book, where they have to be somewhere because then they're starting something else. If they're flying in for a cruise or a tour or something in particular, they have to be there by a certain time to join those things. And so the absolute madness that is next. Yeah. So there are certain carriers that are big national carriers that I don't like to work with. I can help it. And so there are others that I prefer because I haven't seen those experiences happening over and over. And then 2 in 1 week this last month, I had my preferred carrier had people scrambling at the last minute because they just canceled their flight. So that is just one issue. Canceling flights without a lot of notice and not a lot of backup is one issue in the sea of problems happening with the air travel right now. It's stressful. It's stressful.
It is.
And don't be surprised if you are a person who is trying to work with travel agents. Don't be surprised if they don't want to book your flight. This is a growing trend, and something that the average person doesn't know, that travel agents rarely, if ever, get commission off of flight bookings. So no, even if your flights are very expensive and you think, well, they're surely getting a nice commission, not necessarily. I mean, even first class flights sometimes give no commission at all. So that's a first problem. Second reason they may not want to book your flights is because customer service wise, I mean, our job is almost entirely customer service. And if we are working with airlines who will not work with the person who booked it, they only want to work with the person flying, then we're not helpful to you when there's a crisis. You have to be able to talk with them directly. And so that's something that's happened. Third-party bookings in general are an issue. So that means even if you're booking through big,
Consolidate.
Consolidate. I'm like, what's the word for that? Yeah, like Priceline, Expedia, Kayak. I mean, which is how I always booked my flights before. Instead, what I recommend to my clients at this point, I'm sorry, companies listening, but like what I'm recommending for their own best service is for them to book direct with the airline. So maybe they're researching on those sites, but then they're choosing the one and then going to the direct company to book their flights. And that is so that they get the help they need when things go wrong, because things will go wrong. Things so often go wrong with flights. So it's painful.
It's a lot. It's a lot in the news. And I keep thinking, oh, somebody's going to come along. It's going to like get better, but it's not right now. So
I don't know how.
Not today.
I don't own an airline.
Yeah.
I don't know how they fix this problem, because it's clearly a money problem. It's clearly that like there's money at the root of the problem, right? Because I'm sure that they wish they could do more. The good companies, at least, they've got to wish they could do more, but it takes money to offer the things, and staff, which is still money, like to hire the right people to do the right things that are really going to help you. It costs money. And so it's got to be a money issue, I'm thinking, as a business owner. It's got to be that. But so that means there's not an easy solution. There's not a quick solution to these problems.
We shall see.
Yeah.
Well, let's move out of the sad airline travel news. And so let's like we said, last time we talked about like passports, visas, that kind of stuff. So another really important thing that you're going to need when you are traveling internationally is money.
Yeah, it's helpful.
It's helpful. So let's start there. Like what, I know my daughter recently traveled internationally. One thing that we did is I made sure that she had two different forms of payment, like two different ways that she could pay. So we had a credit card and we had a debit card. And one of them she took with her, and the other one she like had hidden in her room, her luggage or whatever, so that if something happened to one of them, she'd still have another one. And I had a way to access both of them so I could move money around if needed.
Definitely good. Good job.
There are transaction fees. We did learn about that. A lot of times when you're traveling internationally, depending on your card, your carrier.
Definitely look into what your credit card or debit card, if you're carrying a debit card, make sure you understand what fees are involved so that you're not throwing a tantrum on a street in Paris because your ATM is going to charge you a fortune. Like, make sure you understand ahead of time which one's better, because sometimes your credit card is better to use in a situation, sometimes your debit card is better. And there are places where, like, especially like with automatic payments, like I'm trying to think, like toll roads is where we ran into it in foreign countries. If you roll up in a car to a toll gate and you're trying to pay with a card, sometimes it will take a debit card and not a credit card, or a credit card and not a debit card. So make sure that you have both. My advice is, just like you did for your daughter, have 2 different forms of payment if possible. And if you're concerned about a debit card, for example, I know people sometimes are like, I don't want them to have access to my bank. That is a fair concern, sure. Pickpocketing happens, things like that, sure. However, what I would advise, if that's a concern of yours, is a prepaid debit card and a credit card. Those 2 together make a really nice thing, because then you only lose the money you put into that account, which was your travel money. And even then it's probably covered by the company in some way. So, and that's another great reason to have travel insurance, which I'm sure we'll talk about. But these are the 2 things that I would recommend: a debit card and a credit card, so that you have a way to get through any kind of payment. But also, can I just point out, because the next thing is probably talking about, do I need to withdraw money?
That was the next thing I was going to ask you.
That's what our grandparents did. And so, like, a lot of times older travelers are going to be recommending to younger travelers, well, make sure you go down to the bank and get a bunch of this money and have it in your, right? Okay, first of all, number 1, you don't have to do that. I never do that. And I travel all over the world, okay? Are there places where you would maybe need to do that because they don't have access to credit card systems and things? Maybe there are some really backwoods places where you would need to do that. So know your trip and where you're going. If you're going predominantly, which is most Americans are traveling to large cities in foreign countries for their vacations, or to resorts where you're mostly staying on a resort or cruise ship, okay? In those situations, your credit card is going to get you access to nearly everything you could ever want to do. It's really when you're in a one-on-one situation with like an artisan in the streets of Mexico, and they've handmade this pottery, and you're wanting to buy it from them, and it's not like a proper storefront. That might be a situation where you need some money to exchange. If you're in a foreign country, hiking in the mountains, rurally, far away from the big cities, you might want some actual cash in their currency. So that is where you need to do some research. If you're working with a travel agent, make sure you ask about those situations. Hey, in this area, should I have some currency? The other time my husband always wants currency is in tipping situations. So also know, what are the tipping practices in that local economy? And is this something where in America, you can add tip onto your credit card? So you don't need to have cash, right? When foreigners are coming to visit us, if they're using a credit card, they don't have to have American dollars to tip, right? Almost always. So maybe to somebody carrying your luggage, right? Or a valet. But other than that, you can usually add it. So just keep in mind.
Yeah. Another
big
thing.
Cities, go ahead.
With the tipping, I know in some areas they would actually rather be tipped in American dollars than their local currency. So that
happens a lot in the islands in Mexico sometimes.
Yeah.
So it is something to know. And then in other places, tipping is not really a part of their culture. So if you are tipping, like a few coins is all. Like Europe is that way. At least in France, they're not usually expecting to be tipped. So if the rule was when we lived in France that if you tip, give them like a $2 coin, and that buys them a beer at the end of their shift, was the idea. So, a coin is good. A euro coin or €2 coin is a lot, and that's great. And you were a good tipper. So you don't need to be giving them 10 or 20% of your total bill. Just be like, thanks for taking care of me. Buy yourself a beer at the end of the day is essentially what a tip would be appropriate in that culture. So another thing though, coins you may want. You may want a roll of, I would say, €1 coins if you're going to Europe. And here's another reason why. Besides tipping, the other reason is toilets.
I was going to say, yeah.
Toilets. So I have a lot of tricks that I share with my clients about toilets when they go to Europe. It's an issue when you work with women, especially.
Toilets.
We could do a whole episode on toilets.
Honestly.
It's a thing.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I definitely would recommend in Europe that you have some coins in your pocket. Now, I have some tips on how to avoid having to always pay for a toilet and where to find the best clean toilet. So we really could do a whole thing. But if you have a handful of coins, then even if it's like it only takes 50 cents, instead of €1, then you could, if you have a €1 coin, you can ask for change, right? So you can now go to the bathroom twice. And so that is something I would recommend. Have a roll of coins, but really you don't need like €200 in your pocket unless you're intending to go up into the mountains and like exchange money for goods, maybe. But really anywhere established is going to be using credit cards. So take a good credit card and a backup one.
What if you do want to get some local currency, like where do you recommend exchanging? Where's the best place?
So the first thing to know, and this is why back in the day this was very confusing stuff, and so if you're actually getting currency, this is where it gets a little confusing and people get stressed. Exchange rates. Sometimes an exchange rate is more favorable on one side of a border than another. So, for example, in the U.S., we might have a better exchange rate currently than Europe, or Europe might have a better exchange rate than America. That's about the strength of the dollar. It's an economic conversation, okay? You can request currency here in America from your bank. You might have to put in a request if it's something really kind of that they don't keep on hand. Every bank should probably have Mexican, Canadian, and euros probably on hand. But you might have to put in a request in advance if it's something a little more obscure. So talk to your bank at least a month in advance so that they have time to request anything you need. But you might also ask about the exchange rate and whether it's better for you to get it here or there. Now, if you're getting it in the foreign country, the reason I would recommend, if possible, even if maybe it's slightly better for you there than here, but it's not like a huge difference, then I would recommend you go ahead and do it at your local bank where you feel safe, you know how the system works, and they're speaking to you in your native language, okay? Or at least in the language you're using every day in the country you're living, okay? So that would be my recommendation. That's going to be so much less stressful than standing in a foreign country on your first day, trying to navigate a system, like where do I go? Where do I stand? Who do I ask? Are they going to understand me? There's all these signs, because there will be signs. Every currency exchange thing I've ever seen has a ton of signs. It's very overwhelming. And then the other thing is you're standing in a very public place. You're almost never in a bank in that situation. So you're standing in a very public place like a train station or an airport or a shopping center. And there are people all around you. Imagine standing in like Times Square at an ATM. That's what it feels like. And you feel very vulnerable in that moment. And so it would be better for you to get your currency at home in your own bank. If you are a high stress person, get it done at home, okay? And don't carry too much because you can always get more once you're there. So get what you think you realistically need in cash. Ask for coins if it's euros. And then tuck it away safely in your carry-on if possible. If it's a lot of money, you're going to want to split it up. Like Kimmie said, split it up, some in a suitcase, some in a carry-on. I would still put it all in my carry-ons, but maybe 2 different bags. But that would be my recommendation so that you feel most secure and safe about that entire process. And then if you need more, you can always go then. Instead of that emergency, I'm arriving on the day and I have to stand in this public space. Now you have time to plan it out. If you're like running low and you think you need a little more, now you can go to a proper bank in that country and stand in a bank that feels much more secure and calmer. I think that would be my recommendation to get you through that.
Are the fees and exchange rates like higher in place like an airport or a train station or somewhere where there's going to be more travelers?
I would say often, yes. They can add extra fees. So you have your currency exchange rate. That is what I was talking about before about, that's about government economics. Okay.
Right.
But then they can charge extra fees on top of the exchange rate being different. They might list it as a different exchange rate, but it's usually more of like a fee situation. Like, yeah, we're happy to help you get the money you need, and that'll be an extra $50 or something, something great.
Yeah.
Or percentage. It's more likely probably to be a percentage. So that's how they're making money off of your need. Now, there's a lot of talk about how, in the past, anyway, I remember hearing that kind of conversation as like, they are scammers. They're trying to scam. Is that really scamming you? It's a business model, guys. Let's be honest, okay? Like, does it feel scammy because they're taking advantage of your need? Sure. But is it really scamming you if they're upfront about it, it's posted, and you choose to engage with them? It's not really scamming you. It's just that they're taking business, from a business standpoint, they're taking advantage of your desperate need for this money right now in this spot. So that's why it's better to be calm, plan ahead, go into a bank where they might have a fee, but it's going to be much smaller than something where they know you just got off a plane and you're standing here needing money. Yeah, that rate's going to be higher, or that fee is going to be higher. Yes, definitely.
It's just like when you go to the Burger King in the airport and everything costs $2 more than the Burger King down the street from your house. It's because they know that you can't go anywhere else for food.
Trapped. It's kind of like
same concept.
From a money standpoint, it's kind of like, do I cash my check at the bank where I have a bank account, or do I go down to the check cashier's place where I need this money right now and I need some extra money, right? Do I pay like a reasonable loan fee at a bank, or do I pay like kind of a sketchy loan fee that's a lot higher if I need like advanced cash? Right. So that's the difference. Like, they're taking advantage of your desperate need, but it's part of their business model. That's how they stay in business, is by loaning people money who maybe can't pay it back. They're taking advantage, right? So it's the same situation in the airport. Plan ahead if you can. Go to your bank. Feel safe and happy about it. Even if you paid a little more, it's not going to be as bad, probably, as what you're going to end up on the other side.
Yeah. What about ATMs? Like, can you use your debit card at an ATM in other countries? Like, if you got in a pinch, I'm sure there's going to be a fee. I mean, there's a fee to use the ATM in the States. I imagine it would be that plus more internationally.
You definitely need to look into what your policy is for your bank. But remember, it works on both sides. So your bank might have a fee, but the bank ATM that you're using overseas might have a fee too. So you might pay two fees. So it is important to look it up. Now, some banks in America are big banking organizations, okay? And they have international ties, international agreements. Like, if you let us use your ATMs for our clients, then, maybe they pay an annual rate or something to be able to tell their clients that there's no additional fee to use that than the other. So you might still pay an exchange rate if you're in a foreign country and you're using your debit card to pull money out of your own account through an ATM, but it's coming back to you in that foreign currency, you're still probably going to have to pay an exchange rate. So you might lose a little money if the exchange rate's not in your favor. But that's not the same thing as an ATM fee.
Right.
Okay. Or an exchange fee. So make sure that you just understand what your banking plan is. And then another thing that I would really strongly encourage all of our listeners is to take a deep breath. Okay. Take a deep breath. Pay a fee, but you needed that money. That is something that traditionally makes people get angry. And part of me is wondering, like, why are we really angry? Amanda had to know that travel sometimes costs you money for things like accessibility, safety, cleanliness. These things, like, this is why you pay to use a toilet, is cleanliness and safety and accessibility. So sometimes Americans get really mad when they're having to pay for something that they don't think about having to pay for at home. The reality, though, is in America, all of these things are in reverse. American banks charge all of these things too. So if a foreigner comes to our country and is they're paying the same things. The difference is just you're not at home right now. So you aren't aware that those fees have always existed. You just haven't had to use them before. So the fact that you can go to a foreign country and use your own debit card to pull out of your own account is kind of amazing.
Yeah.
That hasn't been true forever.
Yeah.
So all the work, all the connections that had to be put in place to make that possible is what you're paying for. Okay, so maybe let's take a breath and be grateful that we can access our money when we need to around the world. That's amazing. So I would just really recommend for all of these issues, take a deep breath. Remember that you have what you need. It's gonna be okay. Look for the companies that will help you the most, and then just try to stay calm when things are unexpected.
Yeah. And like you said, like sometimes paying a little bit more just for like peace of mind or like a less stressful experience is worth it, especially when you're already in a situation where you're going to be a little bit more stressed anyway. To like, if you can take some of that off your plate, even if you do have to pay a little bit more, just to give yourself the peace of mind and a more streamlined, easier experience, like just do it.
If you do take out money before you leave the country, if you go to your bank and you take foreign currency, you can also return it. You can exchange it back when you get home. Mm-hmm. So if there's an exchange fee, you will pay that fee twice. But a lot of banks don't charge you an extra fee to do that. They're just charging you the rate. Right. So you can return anything you didn't do.
Right. It's not lost. It's not lost forever money. Right. Although it's always fun to have a little.
I mean, we keep euros because we're in Europe so much. Yeah. But and I know people that are like that in Mexico. They're in Mexico often, and every year they're going to Mexico if they can. So they keep it, And
have you had to like when you travel? Do you call your bank and tell them, or do you call your credit card company and tell them like, "Hey, I'm going to be traveling"?
Okay, a secret about us is we travel a lot. And we used to live overseas, and we have family that lives overseas now. So our banking and our phones are set up to accommodate that. We have plans with both of those carriers to allow us to travel easier with less stress and less fees and all of that. So when it comes to banking, we chose our bank with the idea that we want to be able to access our money very easily. We don't want it to be stressful. I can, on my phone, notify them if I'm traveling. Mm-hmm. At this point, they're like, if I'm in France, it doesn't even ping them as a strange. Like, it's more weird if I'm in Wisconsin or something.
Yeah.
That's normal, but it's because we've marked it so many times, and we can do it from our phone.
Yeah.
So I can do it from the airport if I have to.
Yeah. When my daughter traveled, we actually didn't have, I was kind of worried that there would be an issue with her using the credit card in Austria, but it wasn't an issue at all. And I sent her with a card. You brought up, being able to adjust things on your phone. I sent her with the card that I could turn off on my phone in case something happened. So if it did get stolen or lost or something, I could immediately just turn it off, and then it couldn't be used. So that's a nice, if you have access to that option through your bank.
And a lot of people do, and they don't realize they've never used those services. So it's worth 10 or 20 minutes to log into your bank on your phone. If you don't already have that set up, now's the time, right before your trip. Set all of that up. Make sure you know how it works. Go into your credit card settings, and our credit card's through our bank. So that's very convenient for us. And so I can absolutely lock it right there in my phone.
Yeah.
So that is something that you can do right in the middle of a chaotic, oh my gosh, somebody just stole my credit card. Lock before anything else happens. Lock it immediately. That's really nice. Our modern time really makes it easier.
Yeah.
To handle all these things.
Let's talk about, you kind of touched on this a minute ago. Let's talk about phone plans and kind of how, because that's another thing that is different from carrier to carrier, from plan to plan. So I guess probably the first thing you would need to do is go to your carrier, get on the website and find out like what your plan already includes.
Yes, I really recommend taking time before your trip, a month before. Don't do it the week before. You're going to be so stressed, honey. Like, go in advance, talk to your phone carrier and ask, do I already have international access? here are the countries I'm visiting. Here's what I expect to do. What do I already have access to? What rates will be charged if I'm texting family back home? If I need to make a phone call and order pizza while I'm in a foreign country? If I need to, check my email, what is going to be charged to me in each of those situations? What happens in Wi-Fi and without? What happens in roaming and without? Make sure you understand it. If you don't understand it, I really recommend, ladies, and I'm speaking to ladies because I find this is a real issue with some of our clients. Go and sit at the store of your carrier. Go to the T-Mobile store. Go to the AT&T store. Go to Verizon. Sit down with them. Have them pull up your plan and ask them to re-explain it to you, okay? Ask them all your questions. Write them out so you don't forget. Ask them to explain it. If that person does not seem like they're explaining it well or you don't feel like you understand, calmly ask, can we talk to another person? I feel like I'm having trouble understanding. I really just want to make sure I know what I'm getting into. Ask to speak to another person, okay? Then ask if there are other options. If what they're saying to you is, technically you can, but it's going to be super expensive, ask what your options are. Here's something we learned, and it changed how we interact with our phone company entirely. We were going to go on a trip to Europe. We knew we were going to both have to work with our phones. We knew we were going to have to make calls home. Like there were some situations we knew were going to happen. We were going to be gone long enough that it mattered. And so we asked our carrier, hey, what do we already have? Okay, that's going to be so expensive. So what would it cost for us to change to an international plan? Can we do it for just a month? Is there something we can turn on and then turn off again? Every company has different options. So make sure you ask what the options are because they may not offer it. A good salesperson is going to offer you a good option, but you can ask for the better option. Okay. Yeah. At one point we had AT&T and it was 10 cents. That doesn't seem right. It was $10 a day. $10 a day to have access to international access for roaming and all of that. Mm-hmm. So if we turned on our phone in a foreign country, automatically it's $10. Well, you might as well use your phone all day. Might as well use it.
Yeah,
right?
You need to know that. Yeah.
If you're going to be gone 30 days, and in our case, we knew we were going to be gone a significant amount of time. Now, that's $300.
Right.
For $300 or less, could we change plan? What would it take for us to have an international plan and we have unlimited access? Is it less than $300 a month? Now it's worth it for us to change. We ended up, when we moved to France, and this is a forever problem, is the way it felt at the time, we switched to T-Mobile, to an international plan, which gives us unlimited. And that is what we still have because we travel a lot, and my mom lives in France, and my son is in Mongolia right now, right? And my daughter wants to go to Japan. And so wherever we are, we can still be in touch. And we pay a little more per month, but it's not $300 more a month, right? So it makes a difference. So make sure you ask for those options. Make sure you understand what your options are before you go.
Yeah, that's a great point. I know for Maggie, my daughter, when she was in Austria, she was only there for 3 weeks. So she got an eSIM card for her phone, and that allowed her to connect to the internet and use iMessage. So she could message anybody that had an iPhone, or she could connect with the internet and then message or call in ways that you could use the internet. So there's a lot of there's some options where you can get around some stuff.
If you're staying in hotels or resorts that have Wi-Fi, that's a great option. And that's when we learned to use, I use Facebook Messenger all the time. Yeah. I learned features I didn't know existed before because I could do it for free and I couldn't do those things over cellular. So
WhatsApp,
video chats, WhatsApp. Oh, there's so many options that you can see in touch with people. You can do video calls through Facebook Messenger. Marco Polo is an app you can use and just send recorded videos back and forth. So there's a lot of other options, but that only is really helpful if you're in spaces that have a lot of access to Wi-Fi. Right. If you are traveling through rugged terrain and you're out all day, or even you're staying in a nice hotel with Wi-Fi, but you're not planning to be in your hotel, right? out seeing the city all day long, well, then that just means that you're really only going to be able to contact people then when you're back at your hotel at night. So just make sure you know what you're getting into. Make sure you know what your options are.
Mm-hmm.
And in that case, eSIMs are interesting. That's a new concept. You can also buy international SIM cards that are unlocked for certain regions. You can buy SIM cards in the airport through a vending machine, usually. In Europe, that's very common. So as soon as you come out after baggage claim, there will be a vending machine somewhere very close by that will sell you a SIM card for that region. And you make sure your phone is turned off. You take your SIM card out, put it somewhere very, very safe so that you can get it at the end of your trip and put it back in. But then you put in the new one, and now your phone is able to access things in that foreign country. So that's another option as well. Make sure you know what your options are. Look into it before you go. That way you're not stressed when you get there. And if your maps aren't working and you can't find your way to the hotel, right? Or you can't remember the name of the hotel.
Yeah.
And trying to get a taxi, and they're asking you, what a stressful moment if you can't use your phone.
Yeah. I would say I know Kara had talked about that, like not being able, like she only had access to her phone if she was connected to Wi-Fi. And if she wasn't, then her phone wouldn't do anything. So that's really not the ideal option, especially if you're a woman traveling by yourself, but really, for anybody, if you can avoid that being your only option, I would say do what you need to do so that you can still access your phone features and it maybe not everything, but at least to be able to communicate and pull up maps.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And also, this is just another time to remind everybody, make sure you know what your charging situation is going to be.
Yes.
In a foreign country. Have your phone charged before you go to the airport, have a charger with you, but also have an adapter so that you can charge it once you get there. Because you want to be able to access your maps and your contacts and all of that, emergency numbers, everything when you're traveling. So please, please, please plan ahead and have an appropriate adapter to charge your phone. And if you don't, we should talk about that if you don't sometime. We should just go through the list that I send people. Because really, if you don't, there are stores that sell chargers in the foreign countries. They all carry their phones too. So you can go to a store and you can buy a charger. I've had to do it now in 3 different countries. So it happens. It's okay. And people will help you. Ask for help when you need to. Ask, where can I go to get a charger for my phone? They're going to tell you. They'll help you, okay? So don't panic.
We'll add that to the list along with the toilets. What to do when something goes wrong, I guess.
Let's do a podcast about it. And we'll put it on our blog too. That's information.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. I think that was very practical and helpful episode, because those are the things that you don't, everybody wants to talk about the fun part of traveling, you're going to a foreign country, you're going to see all this cool stuff, it's going to be beautiful. But if you don't take the time to figure out these necessary things before you go, it's gonna really put a damper on your trip. So things like the money and phone and that kind of stuff are not as fun topics, but they're necessary topics.
Right.
So
ask in advance, do your research before you go, and then if you get there and things aren't going quite how you thought, take a deep breath. Try to stay calm. If you have to pay an extra fee to get what you need in order to safely enjoy your trip, then pay the fee and be grateful that you have access to what you need, and try to stay calm about it, okay? And then if anything else goes, if you're having trouble with a phone, hey, they have phone companies there. They have access to chargers there. If things are going wrong, ask for help, and you will be able to get what you need. So try to stay calm. That's my best advice.
Yeah, that's a great one. Well, thank you very much, Heather, for joining me today. And I hope that our listeners find this helpful. If you guys have any questions about any of the things we talked about, leave us a comment on this and, we'll answer your questions. And thank you for being with us today. Hope you guys have a great day. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of the Travel Bug Girls podcast. Be sure to subscribe to get our new episodes every week. We'd love to connect with you on social media. Share your answer to this week's podcast question with us at facebook.com/travelbuggirls.
You can find us on your favorite social media by using @TravelBugGirls. Want to join our VIP group? You'll find us on Facebook groups under TBG Travel Bugs. Learn more about the Travel Bug Girls and what we do on our website at travelbuggirls.com. Until next time, keep exploring, keep dreaming, and safe travels. Are you ready to be in the room where it happens? Next spring, your shot at an unforgettable New York City experience is here. Imagine 4 incredible nights in the heart of Times Square, exploring iconic landmarks from Greenwich Village to Wall Street. Picture yourself gazing up at Lady Liberty and reflecting at the powerful 9/11 memorial. But that's not all. This isn't just any trip. It's your chance to witness the revolutionary energy of 2 Broadway shows, including the one you've been waiting for, Hamilton. We're taking care of everything. Round-trip flights from Dallas or your closest airport, comfortable hotel transfers, 5 delicious meals, and easy transportation throughout the city are all included. Don't throw away your shot. Visit TravelBugGirls.com to book your Broadway dream trip today. That's TravelBugGirls.com. Be a part of history. Experience New York City and the magic of Hamilton.